byproducts, I think, of our generation. We just never gave up. So anyway, as you can see, these are all images that are reflective of the movement in terms of those things that were important in 1968. So, one of the things that I've done that I thought was really cool was to reflect back on all the Jet magazines of 1968 and figure out what they used to have the top 20 songs, and they always had the #1 song. So what I'm going to do is play a little snippet of each song of the 22 most popular songs of 1968. Now, if you'd like a copy of this, this is not a bootleg situation, but if you'd like a copy of it, just shout out to me on my Facebook page, and we'll work out what the postage is, and I'll just send you a copy. I probably have 100 of them. So anyway, one of the songs in 1968 was a song called Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing, and it went something like this. Marvin Gaye. All right. Aretha Franklin had a song called Baby, Baby, Sweet Baby.
Baby, baby, sweet baby. There's something I just got to say. Baby, baby, sweet baby. You let me.
Now I don't have them in the order of them being #1. What happens in my Apple computer, it puts it in chronological order. But a lot of entertainers had more than one major #1 hit in the same year. So in that same year, Aretha Franklin had another song. And see if you remember this.
Change, 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 change.
Then there was a group called The Intruders. I don't know if you know The Intruders, but they had this song called... See if you remember that.
When I used to play shoot 'em up, bang, bang.
Now this next song, the guy who played this song, and this was an instrumental, kind of a jazzy song, he recently passed last month. But he had the #1 song in America during the spring and summer of 1968. His name was Youre Masekela. And the song was called Grazing in the Grass. Then there was a smooth brother. His name was Jerry Butler. He had a song called Hey, Western Union Man.
Oh, Western Union man, send a telegram to my baby. Send a telegram, oh, send a telegram to my baby. This is what I want to share.
Then there was a singing group that I think everybody my age wanted to be in, and they were called the Temptations. And they had a song called I Could Never Love Another. And you know, back in those days, songs that were ballads had so much profound resonating melody and storyline. But here is the Temptations with I Could Never Love Another.
Girl, I can't believe my ears. Are you really telling me goodbye? See, you taking away my.
Then there was this guy who would come to San Antonio, Texas twice a year during the early spring and late fall, twice a year. And he would sell tickets if you were under 12 for 99 cents. And his name was James Brown, and he had one of the number one songs. And when it was called I Got the Feeling. Went like this. Yeah. Now, here's something. Did you know that there were two songs by the same title, sung by two different artists, that made the top 20 and eventually became part of the number one songs? And the first one was by Gladys Knight. It went like this. I heard it through the grapevine. Now, there was another person who did the same exact song in the same year, and it too became one of the number one sellers. And see if you remember this one. Yes, sir, that's Brother Marvin Gaye. I heard it through the grapevine. Now, one of the coldest crooners during that period was a guy by the name of Smokey Robinson. And he had a group called Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. And he had a song called I Second That Emotion. Now, like I said before, it was not uncommon for a singing group or a single person to have more than one song in the top that eventually emerged to be one of the number one hits. Same holds true for the Temptations, who had another song. And this was probably one of my favorites. You know how you go to those house parties and you're talking to your friends and there's only like maybe 3 or 4 notes played, and you just say, hey man, hold that thought, I'll be right back, I'll be right back. And this was one of those songs.
Sunshine, blue skies, please go away. A girl has found another and gone away. With her went my future.
Yeah, I wish it would rain. And like I said, there were just multiple hits by artists that had one hit after the other. Now, this song that I'm getting ready to do is probably the anthem of the 1968 period. And when you heard it, you just resonated with some personal pride. And I don't know if you remember this song, but it went like this. Yeah.
Some people say we got a lot of malice. Some say we got nothing. But I say we won't quit moving until we get what we deserve. We've been mute and we've been strong. We've been big bad talking about as sure as you want. Just as sure as it takes 2 eyes to make a pair. Brother, we can't quit until we get our share. Say it loud. Say it loud. One more time.
Yeah, that was the song. And then Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder had a song, and it was called Shooby Doo Da Day. That was another one of those magic hits. 50 years old. Ladies and gentlemen, these songs are a half a century old. Now, this next song actually began to get momentum in 1967, but it really got very popular in 1968, in large part because of an immense tragedy. And Otis Redding had written this ballad, and he was traveling all over the country, and in the fall of 1967, his plane crashed, and he was killed in that crash, along with members of the Barkays, many members of the Barkays. So anyway, there is a song called Sitting on the Dock of the Bay that eventually emerged as being one of the number one songs of 1968.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting in the evening sun, watching the ships roll in, and I'll watch them roll away. Yeah. Sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Sitting on the dock of the
And now you're talking about being at a house party. See, today they don't have house parties like they had house parties when I was young. The world was more closer in many ways than it is today because black folk live in communities together. Despite the fact that there were lots of civil rights acts that were passed in the 60s, it still was a very slow emergence to places in the suburbs. So house parties, graduation parties and things like that, birthday parties in people's homes were very, very popular. And like I said, you know, when you're young, there used to be two things that guys my age did. First of all, we went to National Shirt Shop. That's where we would get our pants and our shirt for that night, for that party. We would call that our front. We bought our front at National Shirt Shop. Nice shirt, good pair of fluorescent pants. And then we had to have some good shoes. So we, being downtown, there was a shoe store called Hardee's. Hardee's sold knockoffs, and they had like Converse All Star lookalikes. They had kind of shoes that looked like what the Beatles would wear, with those big heels like James Brown and the Beatles and other. So you got to have some shoes. So you had to have that look, and you'd early in the afternoon, you get ready for the party. You know, you go sit down and get your mother's hair comb, hot comb, and you put it through your afro, and so that way it would get a little softer, so that you could shape it and get it big and have one of those picks and pick it out. So your fro was good, your shirt was cold, and your pants was just ready, and your shoes. And there were songs when you went to the party, you're talking to your friends, and there were songs like this that said, "Hey brother, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. Sheila, Sheila, can I get this dance? Yeah. Will you dance with me? Yes, sir."
You stay,
Yes, sir.
stay, darling. You make me oh so fast.
Yeah, you be rubbing your face to face, and you real tight, and the girl's mama would come and say, "Hey, space it out, space it out, space it out, space it out." So that's how it was back in those days. Here again, another song done by somebody had already had a #1 song. And this person is by the name of Aretha Franklin. She had this song called Think. 1968. Yeah, you better stay woke, stay woke. Now, one thing that was really kind of cool is that you had all these songs that had come out, and what really made it real special is when somebody within earshot of your town had a song out. And that was this group in Houston, Texas, and they had a #1 song. And I'm gonna let you figure it out. But this was a phenomenal song. Everybody wanted to do it, to do this song. Here it goes. It went like this. Come on now. Come on with me. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Tighten up.
Hi everybody, I'm Archie Bell from the Trails of Houston, Texas. We don't only sing, but we dance just as good as we want.
Yeah.
In Houston, we just started a new dance called the Tighten Up. This is the music we tighten up with. First, tighten up on the drum. Come on now, drum.
So yeah, that was a group 190 miles down the road, Houston, Texas. Yeah, Archie Bell and the Drills, Tighten Up. Now, that was a group that had been very popular in the early 60s, middle 60s, and by the mid 60s, their songs reverberated with a social consciousness. And I remember my father would hear that song, and it just defined who we were. And my dad was real involved with kids and in the community. He had a lot of baseball teams, basketball teams. There are men out there now that are late 50s who remember my father. And he was a very prophetic guy, always had something very positive to say to these kids. And this song reminds me of him because this was his fervor. Yeah, my dad. We're a winner. Curtis Mayfield.
We're a winner, and never let anybody say, boy, you can't make it, 'cause some people minds in your way. No more tears to we cry, and we have finally tried to hide. So we're moving on up, moving on up. Lord have mercy, we're moving on up, moving on up. We've been proving on alert that we're true from the defector, and we're a winner. And everybody knows the truth, but just keep on pushing, like your leaders tell you to.
Yeah, that was one of the most prophetic songs during that period. And it brought lots of positivity to black folks 50 years ago. And there was this song, there's this guy, his genre was kind of R&B and blues. But he had a number one hit. His name was Johnny Taylor. And he had a song that went like this.
Hear me now. All you fellas, gather around me, and let me give you some good advice. But I'm gonna ask you now. You better think about it twice. For your life, she's a woman. There is something you never even learn. I tell you who's making love to your old lady. While you are making love, you now who's making love to your old lady. While you are making love.
All right, now this is the last song of all the songs that I've done. There are 22. And this takes you down memory lane. It's hard to realize that these songs are 50 years old, half a century. Because you could take these same songs, go to a major function where there are hundreds of people, and play any one of these songs, and would resonate with a great part of the population. I know I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. That one song, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, one of the things that I feel real strong about is that I think if you went to a party and these kids were 18, 19, and and today's parties are much more interracial, I think there would be people who would almost apologize to their friends who are non-black that, hey man, I don't really mean that against you. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but it just would seem to me that black folks, young black folks, should play records like that. Say it loud, I'm black and proud, because it helps you resonate and it gives you a historical marker of the sacrifices that other folks have done to make their dreams come true. All right. My last song is by Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. And they did a song called You're All I Need to Get By.
You're all I need to get by. You're all
Like sweet morning dew, I took one look at you, and it was plain to see you were my destiny.
All right, so I appreciate you listening, and be woke, stay woke, become aware, stay aware.
Always thinking, tell me.
All right, we'll see you later.